Hi there, I'm Vicki PARFENOW from Aussie Stampers and Vicki PARFENOW Studio. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a project for you using alcohol inks on glossy cardstock. I also have, for this technique, some tracing paper cut to my card size. Now this is a very inexpensive pad I bought from the local dollar store. And I think it was something like under $10 from my local store. And I have a dollar shop not far from where I live, and I'm always in there scouting out bargains. And it's a quite nice thickness, but it's very similar to card making vellum and a much cheaper alternative. I also am going to be working with some foils today. I have these Go Press foils, and the colors I'm using are light green foil, and this one, which is adorable, is blue-green foil with an iridescent finish. So the green is more a plain foil, but this one has all kinds of rainbow sheen in it as well. So the first part of the video will be showing you how to work with alcohol inks on glossy cardstock and how I get them to move around. I have this machine which blows air. Well, it's just really a little pump. You can see it blowing. It's got quite a decent amount of air coming through there, and it's very easy to use. So if you didn't have one of these, you could use a straw, or you could blow it around with your heat tool, but being very aware that you can't hold this too close to the paper because this is plastic paper. It's like working with vellum as well. You could burn it easily, and I just prefer this method. I think it's really simple. So let's get cracking. I've got the colors Y13, which is lemon yellow. I'm using various Copic re-inkers, or various ink from Copic. And I love using my Copic inks. I am a certified Copic designer, and I have a lot of knowledge about these inks and what they will do. So I like playing with my Copics. I'm just going to be very aware that these are tall bottles, and I do not want them to be knocked over by my hands while I'm working. So this one is a BG15, which is a beautiful pale turquoise. This is cobalt blue B26. Whatever colors you like would work with this. However, I would caution you, if you are using yellow and blue, stay away from adding red because that will just make mud. So just remember your color theory here, that yellow, blue and turquoise work really nicely together. If you wanted to use red, it would probably work quite nicely with yellow alone, and then you'd have red, yellow and orange. But these are the colors I've chosen, and these are the colors I used in this project here. So I just have some newsprint underneath me, just some plain newsprint paper, just to protect my work surface. A couple of other things you'll need. I have some Express It Gold Size. Now, if you didn't have gold size, you could quite possibly use whatever craft ink you have. And just be aware that you need to apply the foil before the glue is completely dry. But this gold size from Express It is one of the recommended products for working with the foils. So that's what I'll be using today. I have some colourless blender fluid, which is the various ink blender fluid, which I would use. The Copic colourless blender has this fluid inside it. So if you had these, you could use these to draw into your inks if you wanted to. You can do the same with the, I think this is from Tim Holtz, alcohol ink blending pen. But I'm going to be using the various inks colourless blender fluid today because that's what I'm used to. And I'm going to keep this alcohol ink blending pen out because I may be drawing into my design later on. It's got a small tip and a bigger tip. So these will pop away, and we'll get started on getting these colours out there. So what I want to do first is I want to get my inks moving. So I'm going to tap them. I find this is the best way to get them out of the bottle without spilling too much. Now this is my darker colour. I might come in with some more of that. That's the B26. Now I'm going with the BG15, and just the tap method seems to be the best. You can see they're starting to blend on that paper even without the colourless blender, which is great. And very carefully replacing them. In fact, I think I'll move them out of the way because I'm concerned I'm going to knock them over. And then this is the Y13, a lovely lemony yellow. I think it's called, yeah, it is called lemon yellow. There we go. So it's lemon yellow, aqua, and cobalt blue. So this is giving me a beautiful, nice blend already without any colourless blender on top. In fact, I think this is going to be a bit more vibrant than this one was in the understory. So all I want to do with my colourless blender is to just drop a little on. And I find if I put a cotton tip over the top, it stops too much coming out. I'm just getting tiny little pieces there. I don't know if the camera's picking that up. Now I'm going to move them around a little, but I don't really want it too blended. I don't want it overly blended. I want to keep the colours a little bit separated. And it's a good idea to hold down the edges of your card for this. And one of the things you can do is to use a little bit of washi tape to stop your card from curling up. And this is the same with photo paper too. It does tend to curl at the edges. So I'm just putting a little bit on all the edges. And this helps with the drying as well, that the ink doesn't pool into the center of your card. Now I'm going to move the ink around with this handheld bellows. Tapping a little bit more colourless blender in there, there we go, and getting it to move. I feel like I could do with a little bit of this cobalt blue, a little bit of the darker colour, just bring that in. Tapping again to get it out. And you can see it really moving now. That's beautiful. Wow. I love how unexpected these shapes can be. It's really cool. Now, I don't have a whole lot of ink at the edges, so I'm going to bring some in with my cotton bud. And I'm going to cheat a little bit around the edges here because I don't want that bright white to show. I want the whole background to be pretty much coloured because I want to use this as a card front. And I don't want that white peeking through quite so much. So it's almost like I'm watercolouring in that edge with my cotton bud. Now this is where you can use the blender pen if you wish, and you can draw into this. You just put some wavy lines in. This is the fun part. You can really start to show the hand of the artist in here. And I just like to put some wavy lines all around, just for fun. It's not a necessary step, but I like this step, particularly for the next part of the technique, which is the overlay. Now, it's still wet in parts, so I'm just going to come in with my foil and sprinkle on some of these gold flakes. What I like to do before I put this on the top is to pop them into my palm, get a little brush, and break them down into smaller pieces. So now I have small little pieces rather than a big blob like this. So these smaller pieces I'm going to sprinkle from a height, and I'll make this smaller as well. So this is just a stiff brush. You could use a paintbrush for this if you don't have one of these stencil brushes. And I'm just going to lay them where I think I'd like them to be on the card. So the next phase is to add some gold size. Now you can paint this on, or you can just dab. And again, this is a bit like the Copic bottles. If you just tap, it gives a really random effect. It's easy, you don't have to gum up a paintbrush, because it will gum up your paintbrushes unless you clean them rigorously as soon as you've used it. So there we have like some blobby bits. For want of a more technical term, we have some blobby bits, which is perfect. Now what needs to happen next is you need to let the size go off. So you need it to activate in the air, and you'll see it's a very milky white substance. It's too soon to use your foiling, and it will tell you here on the bottle that you need the colour to change to a more clear, sticky sort of substance rather than a fluid, runny, white, milky substance. It needs to change. So I'm going to go and clean the studio, and I'll be back to you as soon as that is ready. So I've just brought in some coloured cardstock I thought would go nicely. This probably goes better with this. Oh, I like it with both actually. And I've also brought in some of these double-sided adhesive sheets. These are Crafts for You. These are readily available through crafting stores. And I'm going to die cut some messages to go on the front of the cards. So I have a couple of die cuts from Stampin' Up. These are the thank you Thinlits dies. There's a happy birthday die as well. Now this has started to change colour. It's become less milky and more translucent. So I'm going to move these out of the way, and I'm going to show you how to foil your alcohol ink on glossy cardstock. So I have light green foil with a mirror finish, and I have blue-green foil with an iridescent finish. And I love this blue-green. I'll just show you. It's like a holographic aqua colour. It's beautiful. Lots of colours running through it. I'm hoping the camera can pick that up. And all I'm going to do is cut a piece roughly the size of the card. Now the gold foil that's on there is still quite loose, but what's going to happen with this method is we're going to trap that gold underneath. In fact, you can burnish a bit if you want to with a bone folder. Look how quickly that goes. You can see it's starting to show through there where we've adhered the glue. We're going to get more green coming out this time. Let's give it a good burnish with your bone folder, or if you don't have a bone folder, you can use the end of your scissors. Same again, we're going to pick it up. How pretty is that? Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that. Let me show you that in the light. That is so pretty. And what it's done is by switching over between the two colours, these are quite sticky still on the back. So that has trapped the gold flakes in there, and they are now adhered and permanent. I just love that look. So if you wanted to keep that look and create a card with it, it's pretty simple. You just pop it onto your card base, and I would cut it down a little bit smaller. In fact, there's an edge here that I don't particularly like, and I would probably trim that off. It's a bit sticky, so I'll do that in a moment. This is what it would look like with the blue base. Isn't that beautiful? And then of course you can put your die cut pieces, either a happy birthday or a thank you, over the top. Pretty nice. Okay, so that's step one, and that is how you foil on alcohol inks on glossy photo paper. So that is the first technique. It's my favorite. I do love it. But I also want to take you to the next level with this. Now don't throw your foil away. You can come back and reuse this over and over again just by pressing it onto different parts until there's virtually no foil left. So I am going to hold on to that so that I can use that on another project. Right, now to take the card from this to this, here is what we're going to do, is I'm going to lay some of this tracing paper over top, and it's still a little bit tacky. And I want to show you this example too. This is beautiful just as it is. Just have a look at how gorgeous that is. So this is embossed with the embossing folder, and this is plain. So if you wanted to then emboss this, place this into an embossing folder, pop that into your folder and square it up nicely, and then run it through the big shot, and this is what you will get at the end. I'm going to show you cards made both ways, one with the plain vellum and that beautiful image underneath, and one with the emboss technique. So I'm going to put the cards together now, cut them down a little so that we'll have a border around the cards. I'm just going to adhere these to the bases with some Tombow multi-liquid glue, mono liquid. So we have a top opening card both ways, one portrait and one landscape. I'm so pleased with how those cards turned out. I'm really liking them a lot. I hope you enjoyed today's project. Thanks so much for joining me. It was so much fun working on this new technique. I love experimenting in the studio more than anything else, and coming up with these lovely cards was a real treat. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.